Hey 4xe fans, this video is an update to an update to an update on the B9A recall. And I know you're getting sick of seeing videos about the B9A recall, but I really feel it's important that 4xe owners have the information about this recall. And we're learning more as time goes on. And I always want to make sure that this channel conveys proper information and correct information at all times. And I stopped short of saying some things in an earlier video because I wanted to make sure that I was right about some things. And somebody who watches some of these videos, and he's been part of the 4xe fans group since the beginning, I think, and he's also a Jeep mechanic. Steve Spielman's his name. Great guy, and he shared some information with me yesterday that I felt like we need to convey here. And that is that some of the dealerships are not doing the B9A recall process correctly. Now, this video is in no way, shape, or form, I'm not trying to throw shade on any dealerships. That's not what this is about. This is about making sure this process gets done right, both for the customer and the dealership. Because here's what's going on. Some people started reporting when they were taking their Jeep in for the B9A recall that they might drop it off at 10:30 and they might get a call from the dealership at 12:30 and say, hey, it's done. And several of us had that question. You know, Mike from Jeeps on the Run had the same question that I had, like, how is that happening when the process clearly states that there are 2-3 hour sleep cycles involved? Now, you're not supposed to be charging the vehicle. So when you take it in, they have to charge it up to either 80 or 90%, I forget which, and then they have to do those 3 hour sleep cycles. So the charging process is going to take a couple hours. The 2-3 hour sleep cycles are going to take 6 hours. So you're looking at probably 8 hours for this process to be done correctly. And Jeep even put out a letter that said this should take a day and a half to 2 days. You know, when they sent that letter to the customers, they were saying this is not a drop-off and pick-up scenario. This isn't a drop-off and wait in the waiting room scenario. This is at least an 8 hour process if the vehicle comes in and it's not charged. Now, some people have taken it in charged, and that's whatever. If they want to do that, that's their thing. But if we're following the recall protocol and not charging it, then it should be an 8 hour process. But a lot of people were saying, hey, they went in and did some sort of test and said it was okay and called me and told me to come pick it up. And Steve confirmed yesterday that is not the right process. Now, there are some software updates that they're doing during this recall, and one of those updates does include something in the software that now allows the vehicle to throw a check engine light if the system detects this particular issue with the battery. Now, let's put a little parentheses here at the comic part of throwing a check engine light when there's a problem in the battery on the hybrid system. Now, I'm going to make fun of that because I think that is hilarious that we would say check engine when it has nothing to do with the engine, but that's the automotive industry and everything's a check engine light. So I just think that's rather comical, and we just need to laugh out loud and applaud for the comic part of that. But anyway, here's what I'm getting at with this video. If you took your Jeep in for the B9A recall and it did not take a day, if it only took a couple hours, then the process was not done correctly, and you need to contact your Jeep dealership. Your Jeep dealership should want to do this process rightly, because they are now liable if that vehicle has an issue after it was cleared through this recall. There could be a liability on the dealership. And that's why I say I'm not throwing shade on them. I'm not making fun of dealerships, because we're all learning, and it's okay to not know things. It's okay to lack the correct information. But what's not okay is to have a process in place that isn't followed and then not want to correct that and do that rightly after you find out that there is a more correct process than what they are doing. So if I were you and you had one of your Jeeps that was on the recall list and you went in and they got it done in like a couple hours, I would call the dealership back and ask specifically about the 2-3 hour sleep cycles and if your Jeep was processed through that process. Now, during those sleep cycles, the Jeep cannot be interrupted at all. Steve said even if you grab the handle to the door and trigger like that wake up thing, that's an interruption and the process has to be started over again. He also shared that those 2-3 hour cycles have to be done back to back. They can't be done one on Thursday and one on Friday. They have to be done one right after the other. If they start it on like Wednesday evening and do one cycle and do the other one on Thursday morning, that's incorrect and the process has not been followed properly. So I just wanted to share this, and I hope this is one of the last videos I do on the B9A recall. We just keep learning things, but I want to encourage you, if your Jeep went through this process and it was like a quick turnaround thing, call your dealership and kindly ask that they review the process. And it's back a few pages. Somebody was telling me that they went through the process and they called their dealership back and inquired about those 2-3 hour sleep cycles. And he said the guy was literally ruffling through some paper that he had printed out on the process, and he goes, "Oh, you're right, bring your Jeep back tomorrow." And that is the proper response that you should get from your dealership. You know, you should have that that knowledge that, hey, this thing was done right. And I guess there's even, what Steve was telling me, there's even some sort of data logging process that gets sent to Stellantis that when those sleep cycles have been done, and there should be a paper copy that you can get from the dealership to show that you did indeed see your Jeep go through those sleep cycles. So that's all the information that I have as of now. I want to thank Steve for sharing this information. We had a great conversation yesterday. You know, we've interacted online. We'd never talked, and he's just a great guy. And he knows what he's doing. He owns a 4xe, and he works on Jeeps all day long. So this is good information from a great source. And I just wanted to pass that along, share that with you all. Feel free to share this video with your dealership. I'm sorry it's getting a little long to take away from their day, but this is important that this process gets done right, because if I owned one that was on the recall list, yeah, it's good to know that we now have that check engine light, comically enough, if there's a problem in the battery, but I would rather know that the process was done correctly. And we also have a lot of evidence in the past of updates not loading correctly. So I would rather know that that process was done correctly than to count on a check engine light in the software later. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Take care.